Welcome, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jamie Christensen. I am one of the marketing team members at Colaberry. We are thrilled you joined us tonight. If you were with us a few months ago, Nicolette Barrett, who is our speaker tonight, was with us along with Jolene Risch, a recruiter, and we loved Nicolette so much that we wanted to bring her back to just focus on resumes. So tonight, it's all about how to make your resume stand out. And boy, do we have a rock star for you to do that tonight. So Nicolette is I'm the Get Hired strategist. She is an iRock TV host on YouTube. She has a podcast. She's worked 23 years at a Fortune 39 company, so one of the largest companies in the US. She's a 4-time certified executive resume writer and career coach. She knows what she's doing. And if any of you have heard of a little publication called Newsweek, she is also part of the Newsweek Expert Forum. So lots of background. She knows how to get people noticed, how to knows all the tips and tricks to work your way through the maze of HR to get noticed and get you that interview. So that's our goal tonight. Nicolette, thank you so much for joining us. You're there in Dallas with a lot of our people. So again, thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you. So glad to be here once again. Y'all get to share in all my craziness. And I hope y'all going to enjoy and go up for the ride because I am going to definitely take y'all on it because resumes are my jam. I love, love, love talking about the written word. So I am a writer at heart. And what I've learned down through the years, one of my skill sets transformed into marketing people, writing for people. And so that's when I had this epiphany about, you know what, maybe you should go ahead and try this for real. It was two of my employees at the Fortune 39 organization that came to me and said, well, Miss Nicolette, you're really good at this. If I didn't work for you, I would pay you for this. I'm like, what you talking about? People pay for this stuff? And I just do it for fun. And I've been doing this since college. I've always been the go-to girl to do the resumes and all that kind of stuff. And so I went on ahead and pulled myself off the corporate climbing ladder, still work for corporate America, but I'm now on the end of about to retire so I could do my business full time. So next year I'll be, what I say, chuck the deuces, and then I'll be doing my own thing. And they're so supportive of me, which is awesome because it doesn't conflict with what I do. Well, that's another key thing. When you're starting something, you want to make sure that you're in compliance and not in conflict. So they endorse me and they even show up in my lives and stuff like that, especially my old bosses. So it's really cool. So what we're going to talk about today is basically how to rock out your resume so you can land that interview, because what people don't really understand is that the job, in order to even get an interview, your resume has to stand out. And then when you get into that interview, it's going to be up to you to actually land that job. So that piece of paper is really the golden key to get you in that door. So I'm going to take you through some tips and tricks on how to elevate your resume, give you some examples, and do a show and tell some things that I have done as well in the presentation, so you can kind of get an idea on how to formulate your resume. Okay, so and as they already talked about, I'm a 4-time certified. I also have my ACTP. And what that is the accreditation in order to go and take the ICF, International Coaching Federation exam, so I can become an certified coach as well. So I'll be pursuing that, and I'm going to probably have it before the end of the year. And I'm the owner and founder of iRock Development Solutions, LLC, and I do business as iRock Resumes. And my tagline is land a job of your dreams and create a career that rocks. So I am not the resume writer who sends you out the door to say, good luck with that resume. No, I give you a holistic experience. So not only get you in the door for the resume to land the interview, I help you with the interview prep. And then I make sure that you negotiate the salary that you want. And then I make sure that you keep that job as well. So I take you through the whole area. So I'm a resume writer, interview prep coach, LinkedIn strategist, author. As you can see, I'm also a speaker. And most of the things I speak on are on resumes, LinkedIn, and career development. And I've been in corporate America since 91. That ages me. That's why you can count the numbers and why I'm ready for retirement. And I've been married since 94, have an adult daughter and an adult stepson. And I'm a mama to a Shapoo, and hopefully he'll stay quiet. He's deaf. He's 14 years old, and he's just a super cutie. So hopefully he'll stay out of my lap for a minute. And I love guacamole and scrapbooking. And here's my family. See, he got an overbite. Ain't him cute? He's a shapoo. He's all of 8 pounds, and he is mama's heart. That's my family, my husband and my daughter. All right. So why do I even need a resume? A lot of times I know things are changing in the marketplace and people are doing, creative things or what have you. But what the reality is that companies still require them. Yes, the great TikTok resumes, all that kind of stuff, those are still great. But when it comes down to it, they still say, okay, now send me a resume. So it's also part of your personal branding and marketing, because what you are is a brand. A lot of times we don't see ourselves as a brand. However, when you're campaigning for an actual job, you are a brand. So you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward to show who you are. And guess what? Not only does that resume showcase your skill set, your abilities, your talents, your accomplishments, it also gives you confidence, because my clients tell me a lot of times, once they see themselves on paper, they're like, wow, I can't believe this is me. Because it's like, we do our jobs and, everybody say, well, I just do this, I just do that. And they really don't stop and think about the value that they actually bring to the organization that they're working for. But when they see it on paper, they're like, oh my gosh, this is truly who I am. And then it helps you to speak better in that interview to sell yourself. And so that's why it's your personal marketing branding document. And it is your key to get an interview, because they want the resume, and it's going to pique their interest. And if your resume is not landing the interview, I always tell my clients, it's not you, it's your resume. A lot of people get discouraged. I can't land a job. I can't do this. I can't do that. Well, it's not that you can. You're not approaching it properly. So you're not having the right strategy. Your resume is not speaking to the job that you're looking for. And so we'll talk about that. So it's not you, because every client has, or every person has, everything they need to land an interview in their niche, in their industry, if done the right way. It's just about how do you approach it. And so a lot of times we do the spaghetti approach. We get a one resume, and every job that we think we can do, we apply for it, and we take that same one resume, and then we just start shooting it out. And now I've heard people, I've applied for 100 jobs, not getting one bite. I said, well, those jobs, over half of them don't even match the resume. Because you think you could do it, it has to be articulated in that actual document. And so there's no right or wrong way to do a resume. What it is basically is there's a better way to do it. And that's what I'm going to talk about. What is the better way to actually do the resume for yourself? And so what we'll talk about today. So resumes always should be written like a marketing and sales document. You got to sell yourself. Every day, I don't know if you all have heard this, even if you're working on a job, every day is an interview, because it is, because you have leaders who are eyeballing you for that next opportunity. So every day is an interview. So how you show up will lead to whether or not you're going to get that next great opportunity. So it should be, in with your resume, it should be written like a sales and marketing document, because what you're doing is selling yourself and marketing yourself. It's just like we look at the TV and they're always advertising things. Now, you know what? We all know what McDonald's has, right? But we still go to the menu and say, let me have we know what they sell, but they still market to us because they still want to keep us coming. So you have to think about yourself as a brand and do the same thing. And you want to brand yourself as a career professional and not as a worker bee. And we'll talk more about that as well. And then it should be related and relevant to the job and industry you want. That goes back to me saying people take one resume that they've written or have gotten written before, and then they apply to every job they think they can do, but it's not matching the actual job. And it should always be pleasing and to the eye, meaning format, layout, or what have you, because you want to, number one, stop them in their tracks based on the format and make it pleasing to the eye. Not to say that you have to have all this crazy stuff going on, but something to stop them to say, yes, I see a lot of plain, simple, black and white. Now, if your recruiter is looking at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of resumes of all black and white, just imagine if they see a resume that has a pop of color, a pop of blue or red or gray or something or elements standing out. It'll stop them. But what's going to keep them is the content. So we'll talk about that. then it should be concise and to the point. I've seen resumes that are written down in paragraph form and full sentence form and all this kind of stuff. But resumes really should be statements, and it should be more written like telegraphic and not these full sentences. I did this, and because of this, I did that. And no, you can't do that. It's not. It's going to take too much effort on the recruiter to read it. And our job is to make it easy. You want to make it simple and make it easy for the recruiter to read yours and put you in the, I want to call them for an interview pile. Again, that is the ultimate goal. And it should be written in the first person, implied first person, without using I, me, or my. I've seen resumes where sometimes they use it, I do this, and like in the summary, they'll start off with I this, and then go to the bottom, and then they'll say third person, then they'll switch back over to the first person, and it's all mixed up. So it's not reading properly. And then, of course, it goes without saying, error free. Now, as a resume writer, when I submit my rough drafts to my clients, I still make sure that they read it, because after spending hours on their resume looking at it, even I miss something. So I'm like to say, okay, here's a rough draft. You take your eyes, look over it and make sure it's okay. And then we get on a quality assurance review call. That's when we get on a call together and we go through that resume, LinkedIn profile, make sure everything is right. And then even after that, they still have 3 days to review it. So I want to make sure that thing is error free. I don't care. I want to make sure there's no errors on that, so you don't get thrown out, because we don't want things like this happening. No. Yes, this happens. We don't want that. Okay. So I want to make sure. You're going to learn today how to write a job title for the role that you actually want, a headline that captures the reader's attention. A lot of people don't think about headlines, but that's the secret juice that I use for all of my clients, and an impactful professional summary, killer content beyond your job description. I've seen many resumes where people take their job description and they plop it in the format of a resume, but no. And then we're going to talk about a targeted resume using the actual job posting, and that's going to be the key to you landing that interview. So we'll cover all of those. And then we'll also talk about how many pages a resume should be, because that's always a fight in the resume writing industry. Resume formatting, and also how to incorporate those certificates, continuing education, volunteer efforts, etc., into your actual resume, because there's some value in those as well, especially when you're looking to do some fillers. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Okay, so job titles are not created equal. They're just not. And one, because I am in the insurance industry, you'll see a lot of references to a lot of insurance, because in the insurance industry, I'm known for resume writing. So not only do I do a lot for the company that I work for, people seek me out, but also because I'm part of the CPCU and CLU society, they also seek me out because they know I'm a guru in the resume writing and I have a lot of experience in this industry. So one of the things that our company has is claims specialists. And so, yes, that's very unique to the organization. But when you're looking for a job, most times they're going to look advertise for claim adjuster or claim representative. So what I have to coach my insurance clients that work at the same company I do, it's like, no, we're going to not use claim specialist. We're going to use claim adjuster or claim representative if you're looking for another opportunity, because that is the key words that will be looked for in the ATS system. And we'll talk a little bit about the ATS, applicant tracking system. I call it the resume robot chewer and destroyer, because if it's not speaking the right language, they will spit you out. So therefore, we want to make sure we do everything we can to get past the applicant tracking system. And then, what's also good is having descriptive type of title. So instead of sales representative, because that's what your title is at the company, be more specific and say maybe pharmaceutical sales representative, or maybe ad copy sales representative. Being more descriptive is also going to elevate your resume to the next level. And then sometimes you may need to put in what type of role that you're looking for as far as level. So if you just graduated and you're an accountant, it's going to be hard to compete for accountant jobs. But how about you put in entry-level accountant? That narrows your search, and also that narrows it down for the recruiters looking for you, because they're looking for entry level to start you out. But if you're competing against accountants who have 5-6 years, and because you're looking for those jobs, oh, I don't have that kind of experience, that's because you're looking for the wrong jobs. Look for the ones that say entry level. because that makes sense. You're entry level. And then, of course, if you're a marketing director and you want to take that next role, but you're not quite ready for the assistant vice president, AVP, or vice president role, look for senior marketing director roles. And guess what? That's a niche that can be small enough where you bypass everybody else who's looking for marketing director roles because you want to be a senior marketing director. And that opportunity may be out there. So think about your job title, and especially when companies get fancy with their job titles and it means nothing to the industry, you can actually change it. And I get this question a lot of times. Well, what if they call my HR department? HR know. They know it's the same thing. Don't be upset or get afraid of it. They'll say, oh, yeah, well, we just call it this here. As long as you don't make up something that is totally outside, the thing, you want to stay industry specific so that HR will understand why you changed it, because it just makes a difference. It's just better for you. And it's all about targeting and niching your resume. Again, the ultimate goal is to land an actual interview. Okay, so we want to make sure that we write great headlines. This is really my favorite. I love, love, love headlines, because at the top, one of the things that for a resume, you could think of it as a newspaper, right? Well, I'm from Chicago, so we had the Chicago Tribune, and you know how the Chicago Tribune, I don't know if you know, but newspapers will fold, or maybe you've seen in movies, newspapers that fold over, then they open them up and read it. But what's always capturing the attention is that very top, because that's what the latest, greatest, best news that's going to go right there. That's the same thing for your resume. Outside your name and your contact information, you want to capture their attention. And I do it often by writing a great headline for my clients. And that comes from listening to them and looking at all the stuff that they've given me and developing that headline toward their niche that they're doing. Because you want to capture their attention, because that is prime real estate. The top of your resume is prime real estate. And that will dictate whether or not you will go into that call pile. And so this is part of that. And then we'll talk about the summary as well. So here's some sample headlines that I've written for my clients. Dynamic visionary leader setting and executing business strategies to take your organization to the next level. Now, who wouldn't want to talk to that person? That summarizes everything they can do, right? Then here's another one. Strong financial leadership professional advising senior leaders to make sound decisions to achieve business goals. That's the essence of who they are. That's what they do. Here's another one. Energetic and highly motivated client relations professional, increasing your bottom line one relationship at a time. Isn't that awesome? Like, well, yeah, that's what you want. Customer service advocate, helping your organization attract and retain customers by providing a remarkable customer experience. So what I'm doing is that headline, just like that newspaper, I'm capturing your attention. So you want to read more. That reader wants to read more. And those are some sample headlines that you can be thinking about. Well, what if I was to do an almost like what they call an elevator pitch, or sum up in one sentence what I do and what I bring to the table? What would that be? I challenge you to start thinking through, how would I summarize the value I will bring to an organization for the niche that I'm doing? And guess what? You can have several of them depending on the job that you're going for, but think through, what do I really do? What value do I bring? And put that at the top of your resume. Now, the summary, that's also the part of that top part of that newspaper, right? That's going to be impactful. First, you're going to have that impactful, awesome headline. Then it's going to come into the actual summary, having an impactful summary, because that's going to tell the creme de la creme of everything that you bring to the table, and will dictate whether or not you go into that call pile for an interview, or they will continue reading your resume. Because again, that top part and then that first page is awesome. The second page is just for information, but we're going to talk about how to do it. I'm going to show you different ways on how to set it up in your resume visually to make it really nice as well. And these are clients that I've written for. Okay. So an impactful summary should be, give a high level overview of what you bring to the table. It's like your introduction of who you are. And be careful of taking different, I've seen people take written what somebody else wrote and then they take it and make it their own. No, think through what it is that you do, because just because it sounds good on that person's resume, it's not necessarily going to be for you. Because remember, you're still going to have to go into that interview and articulate what it is that you do. So you want to make sure that it resonates with who you are. Basically, you're writing your own story, you're writing your own book. And I always tell people, writing a resume is really telling your career story. So think through, what high level overview do you bring to the table, and really articulate that for yourself. Now, this may sound funny, but it takes a lot of work to do these things, but it's going to be so well worth it when you put the time in. Don't wing your resume, because when you wing your resume, you're winging your potential salary, your potential promotions, your potential career advancement, your potential benefits, all of that. You don't want to do that. So you want to put the time and effort in so you can get the return on that, so you can do it. So I just had to do a sidebar on that. But then you want to be concise and to the point. 5 to 8 impactful sentences and or statements. And 5 to 8 depends on, the person. It could be an entry level person. It may only have 3. But if you have a CEO, boy, that's a lot that you got to tell. So sometimes you got to go to the maximum of 8 and try to get it down as much as you possibly can. But it's the creme de la creme, the high level. And if you end up writing a whole lot of stuff, go through it and say, okay, what is the best of this? Yes, I may do all of this, but what is the most important things I really want them to know before they put my resume down? That should be in your summary. And it should keep the reader's attention and intrigued, because you want to make sure that you're telling that reader that I am the person for this opportunity. I am one of the contending people for this opportunity. And that's what you want to do. And then you save the reader time. It's a 6-second test, because if all they can get to is your headline and your summary, and they don't probably even remember your name, but if they get those 2 things and you've caught their attention, trust me, you are going in the call pile. My resumes land interviews within usually an hour or 2. And people have a guarantee of, I always have a guarantee, you can land an interview within 60 days or less. People land interviews way before there, because it's so targeted and niche, and it's speaking the language. That's what you want. And it cuts down your time of looking for a job. So it should be very impactful. So here's a sample one that I wrote for one of my clients. And she worked for the Girl Scouts of America. She was actually a non-management person and looking to move into a training management type of role. And she did all of these things which positioned her for that opportunity. So I wrote for her, leadership professional offering corporate training experience, emphasizing a collaborative yet decisive style, creative, innovative, and strategic thinker, maximizing the potential of others through coaching and mentoring, polished presenter, experience and training from a strategic perspective on a local, state, and national level, clear understanding of organizational goals with the proven ability to align training to the overall strategy and execute, adept at establishing, building, and maintaining cross-functional relationships, create optimal learning experiences for trainees. And that's what they do. That's what she wanted to do. And she did all of the speaking all over, even on the national level. And she was like, oh yeah, I did this before. And she was just making it sound like poo-poo, like whatever. I was like, no. That's valuable information. I didn't know that. So then I started thinking about, okay, now how can I get her into that leadership role, which she did land. It's because of all of these things that she did. She just needed the wording to showcase what she had already been doing. And so that's part of the using those words: strategy, execute, maximize the potential of others, coaching, mentoring, collaborative, because you have to have collaboration, especially she was not only dealing with trainees who were paid, she was also dealing with a lot of volunteers who are not paid. So you have to have a collaborative spirit in order to get them to do that. So that's a sample of an impactful summary. And here's another way on how you can write it as well, using bullets, which also give visual. So it's the same information, but just presented differently. And I love using bullets and, combinations, and also using different types of bullets, because I also see people use the same old bullet. It's either circle or square. And did you know that there are so many other beautiful bullets out there? And there are, which adds additional elements and visuals to your actual resume, which will stop them in the tracks. But this is another way that you can also use in this impactful summary. So you don't always have to be like everybody else. And that's the different thing. You want to be different. So here's another one that I wrote for my client. Results focused and multidisciplinary insurance professional with 10 plus years experience in operations, team leadership and management, coaching, and customer service. Proven track record in conceptualizing, managing, and delivering turnaround solutions to reduce inefficiencies and boost claim adjusters' performance. Well versed in building, developing, and retaining exceptional teams to deliver on key strategic and operational goals. Skilled in empowering clients to navigate through insurance related processes to enhance the customer experience. Leverage strong communication, interpersonal, and collaboration skills to build and sustain strategic cross functional business partnerships. Possess a collaborative, growth, and process improvement mindset. Implement the same mindset within the operations to maximize results and achieve company goals. And who would want to talk to that person? So that tells everything that they want to do. And they also have a lot of, they were a team lead, but trying to get into the full leadership opportunity. And they've been doing it. Let's just get them to that next opportunity. Now, sometimes people say, well, what about if you have 25 plus years? It all depends on the person and the job that they're going for. I may not always use the years to aging people out of the process as well. So it depends. It's all about strategy. What do I do for that individual? Because every resume is completely tailored and custom to that person. So if I had someone with 35 years plus experience going for an opportunity that's in leadership or what have you, I probably wouldn't put down 35 plus years. Now, if they need that 35 plus years going into a VP role, maybe I would, because that VP role need more experience. So it all depends on the strategy of what I'm doing for that client. But for this one, it shows I've been doing this for 10 years. It's time for me to take the management role and get out of the team lead role. So it made sense for me to put there that she has 10 plus years. I put the plus there because she can use this resume for extended time if she needed to. And she also landed her leadership role as well because she articulated exactly what she wanted. So that's when people ask me about that. Do I put it in? Do I not? There's no right or wrong way. It's very specific to the individual and the story that that individual is trying to tell for the reader. And I always say, everybody likes a good story, so why not tell yours the right way? And here's another way. See these wonderful bullets? I just took the same information and bulleted out differently. So here are some arrows, and it just gives that pop of visual, and it makes it easy. Instead of the dense text, it just makes it easier to read this way. So this is another way that you can showcase it. So this gives the opening sentence, and these are the bullets right up under that. And sometimes I will italicize just these to give it another visual element, but keep this like this, and I can always bold that to also make sure that it stands out. So there's different little things and tricks that you can do with the resume so that it can stand out amongst all of the other typical black and white job description type resumes that everybody do. And here's another one. Enthusiastic marketing and sales leader with a proven track record of increasing the bottom line by combining expertise in business development, sales, and account management, experience in implementing a strategic vision to meet and exceed organizational goals, excel at interfacing and communicating with internal and external customers of all levels using strong interpersonal and relationship building skills for company success. Customer focus using a strategic, anticipatory, and proactive approach, resulting in expanded customer base. Exceptional work ethic, leader, and team player with great learning agility. So those are some examples of impactful summaries that can sum up your experience based on everything that you do. What do I need to tell the reader so that I can get into that call for interview pile? Now we're walking down the resume. We've already talked about the headline. We've already talked about the actual summary. So now we're going to talk about the content, going beyond the job description, which is really the experience, the career experience, professional experience, or what have you. So how do we make sure we go beyond just the typical information? And that's basically thinking through, because I always ask my clients, now, when you got hired at that job 10 years ago with that job description, do you still do that? No, because jobs usually evolve, right? And that's why they like to put at the end and other things as assigned, because other things will be assigned. So then you have to think about what it is that I do on a day-to-day basis that will resonate with this job that I'm applying for. Now, one of the things, if you will go out to look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see everything about IROC. And then it says, oh, by the way, I also work for this company. But what I did when I talked about the experience that I worked for my 9 to 5, I talked about everything that is in alignment with what I do in my business. They don't need to know all the other stuff that I do. What they need to know is that I have a team that I coach and I mentor, I promote, and I put in positions and all that kind of stuff. That's what I do as my business. So I'm only going to talk about that. One of my other jobs that I do, I work claims. I give authority to my claim adjusters to make sure that they pay the claims, pay what we owe. I talk to customers and I talk to attorneys. That ain't got nothing to do with what I do on my business. So why am I going to tell them all of that? So I try to limit that kind of information, only talk about what I do that is in alignment with the job. And that's what I want you all to be thinking about. In my day-to-day job, when I'm going for this other job, even if it's internal, what do I do that resonate with this job that I'm going for? So that's why content is king. And again, going back to marketing and branding yourself. All right. So job description should never be copied or written word for word. Your job description that your company has given you or the job description that you're applying for. Nope, it's basically plagiarism. We don't want you doing that. It should never be a list of your job duties. People don't want to know what your duties are. They want to know, did you execute? Did you get results? That's good. And that differentiates a worker bee from a results oriented individual. So we don't do worker bee stuff. I don't want to hear that. And when I get some of my high end clients doing the interview prep, and they start giving me all this worker bee stuff, I said, I don't want to hear. Stop now. We're gonna stop this. I need to know what results. I said, if you're a director going talking about VP, they don't care about that little mediocre stuff. Just like me talking about working my claims, I'm busting claims and stuff like that. They don't care. They want to know, how are you going to lead leaders? What else are you going to do? So I stopped them and said, let's think about, what do you do that resonate with them so that they know you are the ideal candidate. And you're listing your job responsibilities only. So if you have your resume in front of you and you have the word responsible for this and responsible for that, I'm going to ask you to eliminate it today because we don't care about you responsible for stuff. That's nice that you're responsible for it, but what else? And it's different, and it all depends on how it's used. Again, it's still strategically, but what I see a lot of times is that a whole bunch of job duties about responsible with no results, nothing next to it. And it should never use passive voice. Again, responsible for. That's so passive. I want to see action type of words about what you actually did on the job, because again, it is a job. What did you do? What did you execute? How did you move your role or even that company forward? What did you do? So the job description should instead convey the value you brought or bring to the table, period. It should convey your value. List the results from your labor, not again that you're just a worker bee. What are some of the results? And if you're not keeping track of any of your results, or you get your performance review and you just put it to the side and you don't even think about it, pull it out, because that tells you what kind of results you're getting. And if you're not getting results, then we need to talk so I can coach you on how to get those results. But you want to get results so you can have something to put on an actual resume for your next great opportunity, because this resume is really your value. I always tell people you can create wealth in your career if strategically done the right way. Not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur, but you could sure be a careerpreneur and get that money. Trust me, y'all, it's out there. But anyway, I digress. So quantify and or qualify your results. Now, I know sometimes it's hard to quantify everything you do, but you can qualify them. And we'll talk about some examples on that. Then you want to use active voice and action words, movement, talking about what did you do? How did you execute stuff? That's music to the recruiter's ears. That's what they're looking for, and that's what they want. Another thing I didn't put in here is that I'm the president of the Society of Elite Resume Writers and Coaches. I have about 365 under me, and I call them my baby resume writers and coaches. And I coach them a lot on what they need to do. And a lot of my baby resume writers are also recruiters. So we get into some great conversations about what they're looking for. And they're like, if it's all that responsible, I don't even look at it. I throw it away. So it's like, no, you don't want that. And there's no qualifiable or quantifiable results. It also gets tossed to the side because it's showing that a lack of effort. See, it showcases other competencies that they're looking for. So if you're saying that you're detail oriented, but your resume is saying responsible in a job description, you're not really detail oriented. You see that connection? So you want to make sure that you're not using buzzwords that's truly not who you are, because we and because I've been doing resumes forever, and recruiters can tell right away No, they're not, because this is the job description that they got from their job. No, they're not detail oriented. So you don't get it, and you don't get the opportunity to interview. So you want to make sure that you're intentional about these things. So I'm going to show you some examples real quick. Oh, here's some sample action words. All of these are either you're doing right now and doing in the past. Now, here's one of the questions I do get a lot of times. If you're currently working in a role, can you use all present tense and or past tense? If you've done a project and you're not still doing a project, you can use past tense. You did it during your role. And then you want to use present tense for the stuff that you're still doing. Now, for your past roles, if your stuff is in present tense, you're already, again, not detail oriented, because you should be using past tense. And that goes to your communication skills, written communication skills. So if your past jobs and you're no longer working at that job, but it's still the job description, you're talking as if you're still doing it, no, your communication skills are poor, and we're not going to talk to you, period, because it's not matching. You're talking about excellent communicator. No, you're not, because you're using present tense for a past job. But you can use it in the job that you're currently doing, because projects don't always last the whole career. It can last just for 6 months, 3 months, or what have you. And you could talk about the results from that. But here's some great words that you can use to amp up what you do, taken from the responsible and talking about what you did: increase, implement, develop, created, initiated, spearheaded, over all these words. These are great words for you to actually utilize. Okay, now let's look at some examples. Okay, so here's a transformed job description. Now, yes, she had a job thing and everything, but what she was actually doing is a whole lot more than her job description when she came to me with that black and white resume with all the responsible stuff. And I just asked her, what do you really do? And this, after we talked about it, this is what I came up with. So she was a management coordinator looking to get into her first management role. And anybody in her industry will understand the language. Now, again, this is targeted. Now, she can't go and apply at some customer service job because they don't know what the heck longitude and latitude coordinates mean. But because she was so niched into what she was doing, they know exactly it. And that's strategy, because now she's speaking the language of the people that she's applying for. That's strategy. So therefore, it spoke to him, and she beat the other people out for the opportunity because she was speaking the language. So she managed corporate inventory and stock for 686 plus clubs. I'm coming out the gate talking about numbers. That's quantifying how big of a responsibility she had as a coordinator. Like, really? Purchase IT assets for corporate offices and clubs in the US and Canada. Liaison between vendor and corporate. Maintain longitude and latitude coordinates for clubs in US and Canada. Fulfill daily requests and completed special projects for help desk and field technicians. Manage IT equipment used at clubs and corporate for replacements. That's what she really did. And that's all we need to talk about. I need to know that she answered the phone, that she had to process replacement requests, that she faxed something. I don't care. What does that got to do with anything? Nothing. That goes back to being a busy bee, worker bee, than getting results. This is what we talked about, and this is what she did. And here's my finance manager going into director, and she's had several director roles since we worked together. And so, regional finance manager, manage and oversee revenue and expenditures for the company's largest culinary and facility services contract, $375 million. She had the largest one out of all of her peers. Influence business decisions made by the regional vice president, 2 VPOs, and 7 district managers by projecting and forecasting revenue trends. She was their right hand. She had to do all of this in order for them to make business decisions. She trained managers in effective food cost analysis, inventory forecasting, and profit and loss. She developed and implemented tools for budget forecasting and projection implementing solutions. So she wasn't just being a finance manager doing some spreadsheets or, forecasting. She projected solutions. She's valuable. And yeah, she got not only, and actually, she actually had to leave that company because they promoted her to director, but they wanted to only give her an increase of 7%. But when she was like, no, that's not enough, she kept trying to negotiate because she was a promotee inside the company. They ended up hiring somebody externally for 30%. That's why you can increase your wealth through your career strategically. So she chucked the deuces and she went and got that 30% in another company. Bye-bye. But anyway, but that's what happens. That's a whole nother session. But anyway, but it can happen. So she said, they don't want to pay them 30% and want to pay me something just because I work for the company. No, ma'am. Let's get our exit strategy. And we did. So therefore, she's happy now. So now let's talk about writing impactful key achievements and responsibilities, because sometimes responsibilities are high level and it's okay to talk about it, but it still has to be very strategic on how you talk about it. But what I see all the time is everybody responsible for some of everything. I'm like, what? Who cares? No. Okay, so here's a sample qualifying statement and that I had to write for somebody just to make sure that we talked about it from a perspective, because they didn't necessarily have quantifying results. So she was one of the top 3 awardees of Crawford's recognition program in Q4 2019 due to her excellent performance. She was credited by key customers for timely, personalized responses to homeowner claims. And when I said she was credited by key customers, she also had the emails from them to support it. So not just saying that she credited, she had the emails. So you talking about creating a kudos folder on your desktop, do that and drag any kind of kudos and stuff in there, because I look for all of that stuff to craft these documents. She assisted customers throughout the claim process and delivered excellent customer service. Her efforts resulted in customer retention and loyalty. She leveraged expertise in Excel, which is pivot tables, in leading the design of a new tool aimed at streamlining data presentation and analysis for decision making and review. She operationalized the usage of the tool across the department. Now, she didn't use those roles. She said, yeah, everybody using it now. I said, oh, so you operationalized it. So I just turned her words into gold. I said, oh, she said, that sounds good. Like, yeah. And so assembled a high-performing team. She recruited and onboarded qualified talent to meet organizational goals, and she adhered to regulatory standards in delivering solutions to address individual concerns of clients served. Now, that's all qualifying statements, the value that she brought as a lead in the claim adjusting field. That was it. So this is what she did. So because she started management, she didn't necessarily have responsibility for metrics, but these are things that would lead her to it, especially developing that pivot table that everybody is now using in the company. Now, here's one that's qualifying statement. This is for my director, finance manager that's now a director. So she led and managed a $175 million budget process, which included leading strategy sessions with 2 VPOs. That's director level, not finance manager. Why are you not trying to get that woman some money? But anyway, trained 50 plus operation managers on how to accurately calculate input budget. She said it was a mess when she got there. She had to clean all of that up and actually train them, which also saved the company money. She streamlined the labor analysis process for 1,700 custodians and $7 million in food costs by building and creating financial tools, invoicing techniques, and standard operating procedures, SOPs, for vendors lacking current systems. She created a financial reporting analysis tool and corresponding SOPs by reconciling monthly accounts in excess of $90 million in annual revenue between the company and the client. Then she generated an additional $275,000 in revenue by creating new operational procedures for school-hosted events. They have events, but they weren't selling chips and drinks. So she implemented that. So now they got more money. Then she boasts a near 100% booking rate of the clients and increased their sales revenue by 33% within 6 months. And she increased sales by 20% in 9 months, resulting in an additional $225,000 in revenue. That girl is bad. She did all of that. She didn't only just do the books and project, but she created revenue streams. So why shouldn't she get that 30%? What? Anyway, that's what she did. So take your value elsewhere. Hand. Okay, anyway. So let's talk about target. And again, that's going to be the key, and the key to the juice of your resume is making sure that it's actually targeting it. So you want to use a job description and compare it to your skills, abilities, and talents, because that's going to assist you on writing that resume and tweaking it. Yes, you will have to tweak that resume for different opportunities. Now, I will say stay in the niche as much as you possibly can. And even when I create resumes for my clients, I'm always asking them what is their ideal jobs, have them send me job descriptions, and I write it such that they can use their resume, but then I coach them at the end on how to tweak it for other opportunities in that same space. So you want to make sure that you're still tailoring it and tweaking it every time you apply for an opportunity. It increases your chances of landing an interview. And I do all these things because I don't want to have to give that 60-day rewrite guarantee. I'm making sure you're going to be successful so you can land that interview. So then you don't want to plagiarize by copying the job description word for word, because I've seen some people do that. And then that's like, wait a minute, I'm the recruiter. I wrote that and it's in the resume. No, come on now. They'll be able to tell. Don't do that. But instead, you can lift the buzzwords out of there. And you want to lift the buzzwords that you can speak to in an actual interview. So, and I love a thesaurus. I'm a dictionary and thesaurus nerd. I'm always using thesauruses because words truly are powerful. You got to make sure one word can change the whole dynamic of a sentence. So you're looking for those different words to actually pop off the paper to make sure you're having a meeting. And if I find a word that's even better than a word that I'm looking for in a thesaurus, I'm going to use that word because it gives more impact and punch than anything. And so that's what you want to do. And then you always want to place your most relevant and impactful experiences first. I write several bullets for my clients. I always do the best at the top first, and then some of the weaker bullets at the bottom. And I do that. I said, well, sometimes you can delete those. You don't necessarily have to have them, but I want to make sure, since you're paying me, I'm gonna make sure you have all the tools that or the writing that you need. You can interchange them as needed, and that's part of being strategic on that opportunity. And then you want to lead with your quantifiable results, and then have your qualifying results at the bottom. And if you have in your job, you have both, that's fine, but always lead with numbers. People like to see numbers. So give them that because they can understand you got a result from your labor and that you're not a worker bee. And then do your qualifying results. So here's some additional tips. So number one, we always talk about how many pages should a resume be. People will go to YouTube, and I have a great YouTube channel, but still, you're not gonna learn everything on YouTube. So it's like it all depends. And what I most times is actually two. In the resume writing industry, you'll hear different size. I do one, I do two. And then in my group, I've heard some people, well, every time I write a CEO resume, I'm doing three. And I'm like, uh, no, you don't always have to have three for every CEO because they're not necessarily going to get to the third page. But that's one of the person I'm gonna have to coach and find out what is she doing and why is she writing 3 pages for every CEO. No, you shouldn't do it. So she makes it a habit of writing 3 pages for every CEO, and that's not always what you need to do. So 1 or 2 is normal, but the goal is talking about what is the target, what are you trying to accomplish, what is the end goal. So if you start with the end goal, you walk backwards on what you need to include in that actual resume to get to that actual target. So most times I'm writing a 2-page resume, but I've also had a CEO that when he graduated from college, he opened up his own financial firm and worked for himself for over 30 years. Guess what? He had a 1-page resume because he's only worked for himself. So he was like, okay, I'm retiring. I'm just going to be a consultant now. He sold his business. He wanted to be a consultant. I only highlighted the stuff that he talked about as far as consulting down through the years, and was 1 page, and that's all he needed. So it depends on the person. It's so targeted and tailored and so individualized. People don't really realize how important that document is to them. It's almost just as important as maybe your driver's license, maybe even your birth certificate. I don't know, but it's a very important document. And so you should make sure that you're really putting in the time for it. So it all depends. And of course, yeah, definitely don't put jobs from 30 years ago. Now, as happy and as proud as I am as being the best cashier of the year for McDonald's at age 16, and I even won a trophy, I am not going to put that on my resume because that has no relevance to what I did at all. So jobs from 30 years ago that have no relevance, no. Now, it's also a strategy. If it's something that you did way back when, and I'm going to show you one of my examples that I need to bring forward to showcase that, then that's another strategy. But for the most part, just for length and say, I want people to see I've always worked ever since I graduated from college. We don't care about that. Trust me. So no. Okay, resume formats. There are several resume formats. You got the chronological, you got the traditional, which is also the traditional. You got your functional, you got your combination, which is chrono-functional, targeted, of course, non-traditional, which is mini and web type of resumes as well. So we'll talk about those. Now, here's a chronological traditional resume. And this is, again, an insurance person. And this is one of the things I wanted to do because he wanted to get into a leadership type of position at another firm. He was leaving Allstate as his own independent agency, and he said, "Yo, Nick, I want to be able to go ahead and get to a bigger company where he's now doing high net worth people." So he left Allstate, and now he's doing high net. I mean, these are millions and millions. He goes and meet people on their boats. Wow. Anyway, so he like that's where the real money is. So that's what he's doing now. And I wanted to make sure that I showcase his skill sets. But this is a traditional one. Now, yes, this is a plain black and white one. This was his preference, but I still use the element to still pop off the page. Although it's black and white, here's the element. I put it over here to show all of his accolades. So the attention goes right to that to show what he did. But that's your basic chronological, talking about your current position to the next most current position on. So it's just your regular traditional, and that's the most common and what all recruiters want. And I'll tell you why for the other ones. They rather you have this type of resume because it goes through the system better, the applicant tracking system better to capture those keywords and scores you. Now, the other resumes don't necessarily do that, and I'll explain why. And here's the second page of it. That's that. Okay, so now here's a chrono-functional. Now here's the one I was talking about is sometimes you have to bring back old information. Now this woman, she worked as a dialysis tech. She loved being a dialysis technician. And so what happened was that her father owned a funeral home and he wanted her to go into the funeral home business with him. She's like, I don't want to do this, daddy, but this is a family business. So she went and did that for like 20 plus years. Now, daddy passed away. And she said, okay, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. So she sold the funeral home and she now wanted to get back into her dialysis. So the trick was, or the technique or strategy was, we had to bring up all her unfortunate old experience. And I told her, we can bring it up, but you're going to have to be prepared because things have changed in over 20 years that, you know, there's more technology, more advanced things. So you're probably going to have to take an entry level. She's like, that's fine because I sold my daddy's funeral home. So I got money. So I'm good with that. So she said, I don't mind taking it, but I just enjoy being that kind of technician. So I was able to bring that information up first and then use, oh, by the way, I'm a licensed funeral director, basically owner of my dad's funeral home. And so therefore, that's what we did, brought that information up. And that's chrono-functional because now it's about bringing it forward. And she already has some connections at a hospital that she used to work for that she was able to actually give her resume to. So she didn't necessarily have to go through the system. So she was able to reconnect those, make those connections and get back into doing that after the sale of her dad's funeral home was finalized. So she was very happy. But that again, that's strategy. What is the end goal? What are you really trying to do? So I can set this resume up for that success. And then that's the second page. Oh no, is that no, that's another one. Okay, here's a functional one. Now this is another client that we did. And I don't like doing functional resumes unless there's a compelling reason to do it. Now, functional resumes are resumes that talk about your skill sets, your competencies, and then you put in the skills and not skills, well, the achievements or what have you per that competency. Now, this works very well if you are networking. What I mean by networking is that you know somebody who can potentially get you in front of somebody to get a job. And it's not going to go through the system properly. It's going to spit it out. You're probably not going to land an interview because it's not set up. The ATS system is trying to figure out where stuff goes. And the ATS system would score low and spit it out where it will never land on a recruiter's desk because it has no dates on here, it has nothing. So it's just more of a challenge. So I'm like, okay, since you have connections, I'll go ahead and do it for you because you're going to be meeting with people to try to get into that field. So a functional resume, I know a lot of people who say, do a functional resume. No, that's not necessarily the case. Recruiters will tell you all day long, no, don't do that. I just want the traditional chronological because it fits into the system better and then it can get hopefully through the system onto their desk. But this is only really good for networking. And so that's what we did. And that's the second page. And see how everything is at the bottom? It's kind of hard. Now, if I have this here, how do I match it up? Which one of these bullets go with that? You know what I mean? It makes the system work too hard. That's why it's not really a good resume to apply online with, if that makes it even simpler. So that's only for networking. So I don't like to do those unless I'm like, well, who are you giving this to? I'm interrogating because I want my resume to land an interview. So I don't know about that. Okay, here's one that's very targeted. So here's a woman who was retiring. She started out, she didn't even have a degree. She started out at the company and rose up the ranks all the way up to director level. And she ended up getting her degree during her retire on the way out the door. And so she was looking at opportunities to fill in for when transition CEOs. I didn't even know there was such a thing, but I learned so much from my clients as well. But she wanted to be the gap filler. She said, I'm retiring from this job, but I only want to be the gap filler. So when a company is looking for their next CEO, that I'm the interim, that's what she called the interim CEO. So we pulled up all that information, showed the different things that she was able to do to get into that. And this was back in the day when women weren't really prominent in the tech field. And she came from the secretary role all the way up, and then decided a year or two before she retired to get a degree. So she was phenomenal. But she said, I just know I'm gonna have to have a degree if I'm gonna try to be an interim CEO or CIO. And that's what she did. And she's been a great client, even sending additional people to me as well. But that's what she did. And so this all about targeted. So I really targeted to what she actually did to showcase that she could step into that interim CIO role, because she said, I'm not working full time for nobody. I just want to be 6 months here, maybe 9 months here, those temporary assignments. And that's what she did. I wonder if she's still doing. I got to reach out to her name is Sharon, see if she's still doing that. But yeah, that's what she wanted to do. And that's very targeted because she knew exactly what she wanted to do. She had a huge network, so they knew her. So she just said, yeah, we need somebody here. She could just send it to them and everything. And it was wonderful. And it's still in the traditional format, but it's very targeted on what she actually wanted to do. And that's got a pop of color to it as well, blue. Now here's a non-traditional mini and also website. Now here is when you're going to networking events. I know COVID kind of, well, it can kind of getting back up, but COVID, kind of squashed a lot of this. But if you're going to a job search networking event and you bring in this big old portfolio with full of your resumes, chances are people are going to leave it right on the table. So I would rather you not do that, but instead create a mini, like 5x7 card. I mean, some people try to do a real tiny, but really a 4x6, 5x7 card that you can put in your coat pocket or in your pocketbook. And you can take there, and then it's easy for somebody to hand it. So when you're networking and you got your little drink in your hand, your little hors d'oeuvre and stuff like that. But if you pull out a 2-page resume, say, here's my resume, where are they going to put it? Where are they going to put it? But if you give them a little card, first of all, you're going to stand out, right? Say, oh, this is neat. I've never heard about that. So my clients love that. So when they do that, then they can easily put it in and they remember you. Then guess what? Then they'll ask you for your full resume. So you can have what I call a mini resume, just kind of a snapshot of what you do. And then one of my clients, she is a graphic designer. So we added an element to hers to show this thing where we made a live link on her resume where they can actually see it. So I'm not going to just tell you how good I am. I got to visually, because I am a graphic artist, right? So I got to show you some of my work. So it has to go beyond. And that separated her from everybody else. And so they click on that, they can see her work in live and in action. And I do that also for people who have published papers, who have done interviews or something like that. As long as it's in a relevancy, I put that hyperlink on there, even on the PDF, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. Even on the PDF, I make that link live where they can click it and see it in real time, separating my clients from the rest of the people, being strategic. So those are some different ways I'm doing it as well. Let's see. Okay, now I'm at the end. Oh, okay. Let me know. Almost at the end. Okay, certification, volunteers, association, organization. I really want to talk about this because I have some clients that are returning to work. They raised their children, or not just women. We have some men who have had to take care of children. I had one gentleman who had to take a 2-year break from his engineering role because his son had a like bipolar or something, was just cutting up in high school real bad. So he had to take a break. And so therefore we talked about some of the things that he did. So it's not just women, it's whoever had to take a career break. And LinkedIn right now has an option to show your career break, which is awesome. But sometimes when you're doing volunteerism and you're doing those kinds of things, that can add to your value. I had one mom she was raising money like crazy for this parochial school, and she had these big old balls and all this kind of stuff. So we pulled all of that experience and all of that expertise that she developed in putting on these balls and raising this money into that for a sales role because that's what she was good at and she raised some good money. So those things can help you. Certifications, if you are certified, like I have not only my certifications in a career practitioner field, I also have certification in insurance industry because when I was on the corporate ladder trying to climb up, it was important for me to have the certified professional CPCU, say certified, oh gosh, no, charter property casualty underwriter, and also the CLU, the charter life underwriter. Those are huge in the insurance industry. I also have the AIC, the associate insurance claims. So when I'm going for promotions, that will separate me from the rest because I've taken the time to educate myself further and get those certifications because those are gold. That can make the difference of another $10,000 in your salary when you have those types of certifications. So if you have those and you're a PMI or something like that, those are very valuable. And what about associations? If you're in any kind of fraternity, sororities, or any type of associations, and you have a leadership position and also organizations, you want to showcase that. But I will tell you a funny story. I had one of my childhood friends come to me. He called me little sis because he was my brother's friend. And he wanted me to do a resume for him. And I said, okay, cool, Carl, I'll do it for you. He's all in the IT field and all that kind of stuff. And then he's heavy into the gun thing. I said, Carl, we're not gonna put this on your resume about you being in the gun place. Well, I'm very young, bro. I know, bruh, we're not putting this on your resume because what if you get this resume in front of somebody and they're against guns? So you don't want to automatically eliminate yourself because you're gun toting. So always try to steer away from controversial stuff on an actual resume, organizations and stuff like that. Now, for my African Americans who are part of the what is it called, the minority accountants and stuff like that, those are fine because I get questions about that all the time. So no, those are fine. I'm talking about those controversial ones where it's the gun toting or maybe any kind of hot topic. We don't want to put that on there because you never know who's behind the table. But if you're part of a fraternity or sorority, sometimes you get people who are part of that same sorority or fraternity, and that works to your advantage, especially if you're very active. So these are great ways to enhance and also separate you from the rest if you have these type of organizations that you're a part of. Now, if you're not part of any organization in your industry, I suggest you get active now, or at least pay membership and go to some of the virtual things, because again, it separates you and not showing you as a worker bee. Because if you're doing all work and you're not part of anything, I tell my clients, you go sign up and go read some stories to some children or something. Go do something. So I'm asking them, put something on there because right now you're a worker bee. I'm not hiring a worker bee that you're burnt out from work all the time. You have no life. I'll go to work and I'll go home. What? No. There's so many things that you can do, even if it's once a month. So I'm like, no, go join something now. And especially if it's a professional organization in your industry, you want to, because that's additional knowledge for you. Even if you only go once a month, that's 12 times a year. That increases your wealth for that next opportunity and continuously to separate you from the crowd. And so here's my last thing. Don't send that resume out naked. It needs a cover letter, that is. Anyway, corny. Anyway, so send out your send a cover letter with your resume because it shows that you put some thought into your job search, and it makes your job search more formal and serious. And a lot of times, we also have this argument in our resume industry. Some recruiters say, I don't even read a cover letter, to be honest. Then some recruiters say, I always read the cover letter. So it's 50-50. I'd rather you have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So always have a cover letter. And what I love about the cover letter, especially when I have CEOs with a whole lot of experience or somebody who's decorated with a whole lot of stuff, if I can't fit in a resume, I sneak it right on in that cover letter. And it's like, oh yeah, see all this stuff, but you're going to learn even more stuff in my resume. So it's a sneaky way to put that additional information in there. And so I always like to use a cover letter. To me, they're very valuable. And it also, it shows that you put additional work in and thought into your own career. So that's what that's about. Always use a resume, a cover letter. Okay, so final thoughts. Resumes will not get you the job. They land an interview. And I make that very clear with my clients. I cannot guarantee jobs, but I can guarantee interviews because I know what my resumes do. But I'm not in the minds of the hiring people. No career practitioner should be guaranteeing you jobs. I mean, it's kind of hard to do that, but it's like, I try to steer away from that. What lands the job is really a well-prepared interview. So if you need interview prep and things like that, do that. Don't wing it. Don't wing your next salary or even your ability to negotiate because you interviewed so well by just winging it and then accepting anything that they give you. Oh, I'm just glad I got the job. You're going to pay me what? Yes, I'll take it. They got more money. Y'all trust me, they got more money. Anyway, resume should showcase your skills, abilities, and your experience. Write your resume first and then choose your format. Don't get caught up in how pretty it looks and all that kind of stuff. Get the content, try to get through, and then you'll know what you need to highlight and how you need to format it and put it in the actual nice format, pleasing to the eye. And don't sweat the number of pages. It depends on the strategy and what you're trying to get out. Because if it goes into 2 pages, that's okay. Let it be 2 pages. But if it goes to 1 page and just like a little bitty piece on the second page, then now it's time to work with those margins and that font space and put that on that first page. So that's also strategy. And make it more results driven and less task driven, because results, people are looking for people who can get results, not people who can be a worker do tasks. We don't want those. Even as a leader, corporate leader, I'm looking for somebody on my team who know how to get results, because my results, I want them to look good. So I want to make sure that they're going to work and do what they need to do to get the results, not just somebody collecting a paycheck. No. So avoid passive language and use active words instead, and always include that cover letter. Okay, so here's one of the things that I did want to show you guys. I do have a DIY, and also you can contact me directly. I'm at irockresumes.com/contact us. There's a short form that you fill out and complete, answer some questions, and it will take you directly to book a call on my calendar. It's called a discovery call. Myself or my team, one of my team members, will be able to talk to you about what your goals are and how we can assist. But I also have a DIY thing that people like as well. It's called the Ultimate Job Search Bundle, and you can go use that QR code or that, and you get all of these things. My resume interview winning template and ATS friendly template. Recruiters have raved about this template for years, and I said this has got to be the best template ever. And so therefore, I call it resume winning because it's not only used as a chronological, but it gives you a pop of color, and you would never think that color is resonates, but I've gotten so much feedback that I call it now my winning template. And I wrote 2 books. I wrote one on resume writing. I wrote one on interview prep. And those books are very helpful in doing your own resume for yourself. And you get the job search and network tracker. And then the ultimate job search checklist with 100 tips. And also, I also give you my interview prep masterclass. My friend Mayan Payne, she's a stylist. She talked about it from a perspective of how to show up on camera. And I went through on how to interview like a pro. So it's a great pre-recorded masterclass. It's all DIY if you all want to do that. But if you want to take the next step and have me work with you, and just go ahead and sign up on the website, and I'll be happy to take you on as a client, and we're gonna work it. And it's a partnership, so we work together to make sure I am presenting you the best way I possibly can. And again, I have my 60-day guarantee. If you don't land an interview in 60 days or less, I rewrite your resume for free. And I only had 3 over the 9.5 years, but 2 of them was like because they gave me the wrong information. The other one's like, well, I want to switch gears, and I did it, but they keep coming back and sending people to me. So it's really more customer service. But no one has come back and said they have not landed an interview, because it's about the strategy. And if you want to reduce your time and looking for a job, just take the time and invest in yourself. You'll get the return on your investment quickly. So that's what I guess. Okay, you got it. Let's say if we are marketing ourselves with 5 years experience, is it advisable? Yeah, but only 5 years experience. Yep, and I can make it pop, baby. Yes, if you only have 5 years in experience, keep it to 1 page, because otherwise I don't want you putting stuff down that doesn't make any difference. So yes, that's a great question, Suchi. Oh, you're so welcome, Elizabeth. That's a good question. Which format PDF? That's an excellent question. The Word version is only for you to make your edits. Your PDF version is the only version you should be applying with. And the systems are now savvy enough to read PDFs, because Adobe has now made it so you can convert a PDF to a Word and stuff like that. The reason I say PDF, because especially with the elements that we use, we want to make sure that it stay intact, because on a Word version, it depends on somebody's computer. You don't want that element being all in the middle of the page and all on the top of the page and all out of place, because it can move. So I always give my clients not only the Word version, because that is your master copy for you to edit. I get the PDF version. I tell you only apply with that one. And also give you what I call the ugly version, the plain text version, just in case you're going for a government job and they are still requiring the old system. Some government and city entities haven't converted fully over, and they just want no elements, no anything. So I make sure you're prepared for that. So I give you not the ATS version, the plain text version that you can apply for that. So you get 3 versions that you can use. So when you're sitting down and applying for a job, yeah, I don't care if it's at 1 o'clock in the morning, you not texting me saying, I need the version. I make sure. And you know, I had that experience, right? That's what I said. It. You learn. My clients teach me what they need. Let me see. Oh, this is a good question too. Is advisable using Chat GPT? Chat GPT, it's not advisable, but it depends on how, if you're using it to give your thoughts, you can use it to help you think through it. Because what happens with Chat GPT, there's all those resume examples that you see online, they're just scanning all of that stuff and bringing it out. But is it really going to tell what you do? So if you're really good at writing, use it as a thought generator to help you formulate the words that you want. Yeah. So that's what it do. And it's okay to help you write the bullets and stuff. I have not heard the Chat GPT giving strategy or anything like that. It's just an information gatherer. So it depends on what your end goal is. If you just want to just do a resume and just kind of help you, generate thoughts, you can definitely go ahead and try to use that. I use Microsoft. Yeah, Microsoft. Oh, I use Word documents. I use a Mac, but I'll use Word for Mac, because Word to me is transferable everywhere. Now, because Mac has Pages, I don't like Pages at all. It doesn't transition well. They say it does, but to me, no. So I don't use Pages, and I don't use Google Docs, because Google Docs, it won't showcase the resume like it should be. The way I write the resumes and format them, it doesn't work well. So I just stick with Word documents only. And plus, it's universal. Everybody knows how to get to a Word document. Everybody knows how to do Adobe. So I just go with what's easy for the industry and not try to get something that's too challenging that transition when they're trying to look for people. So good question. Here, the way you can stay in contact with me, use that. Connect with me on all my social media. I'm loving LinkedIn, and you all probably, if you connect with me, go out and look at that post about what had happened to me. And so I won't spend time on it here, but I had a pretty unfortunate accident, so you all can read about that. So go ahead and look at that. And also, is PDF format recommended? Yes, PDF. Write it in Word first and then convert it to a PDF format. Yes. So yes, please do that, and use the PDF version only when you're applying to those jobs. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm big on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook as well. And what else am I on?
You've got your YouTube channel. I'll put
Yeah,
that
my
in the
YouTube channel,
chat.
I Rock TV. Yes. And I was supposed to start my show back, but because of this, I took a break for 2 months for the summer. And then I was supposed to start my live show back. But because of what y'all will read on LinkedIn, I was kind of delayed a little bit. So, but it's still over 200 videos out there. And I'm finally monetized now. I was
Ah, congratulations. That's a
like,
huge deal.
yes, indeed. I was like,
Huge
well, when
deal.
they gonna send me some money, but I ain't got none yet. But I have commercials on there. Don't skip the commercials, y'all.
Takes a lot of work and dedication, especially as your second career, Nicolette. So
Yes, indeed. Yes.
um
Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate y'all.
oh, thank you so much. We
Mhm.
loved having you the first time so much that we wanted you back tonight. I also want to thank everybody from the Colaberry family that joined us. I've put some links there in chat for you so you can know where to find Nicolette. As always, if you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to Jackie. She'll know how to get a hold of the right person. Again, thank you, everyone, and make it a great week. Have a good night.
Okay. Thank you all. Have a great
Thank you,
evening.
everybody. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.